go. All right. So we are going to get started. Let's go ahead and open your terminal of choice or requirement. Ugh, Git bash. And let's go ahead and create a folder locally. So we're going to create the folder locally. We will do some work. We will then create a repo on GitHub. We will marry the two together, and we will then have access to pushing directly as needed. So we'll start with that. So go ahead and go to whichever place it is that you do your work from. And I'm trying to figure out where I do mine. I think it is. Hey, what do you know? All right. From here, let's go ahead and create a new folder or directory. So I'm going to say make directory. I'm going to call this PassGen. And I'm going to CD into that. And now, of course, when we look inside it, it's completely empty, right? We can just open directly if we want. So you're used to doing code dot, right? But in this case, let's do code readme.md. And I'm sorry if that's kind of small, so everything else will be normal size. I haven't figured out how to change the screen or the font size to make it easier to see. But we want to, once you're inside the folder, say code readme.md. And of course, readme is all caps. So in this case, what we did was we just opened the new file inside of a, why is this doing that to me? This could be a Windows issue. Let me see. Okay, code, read. Sometimes working in a new work environment, it's good for the brain, bad for the heart. Okay, for whatever reason, it's not opening me in that folder. We'll do plan 2. I'm going to say touch, readme. Not everything works the same as it does on Linux, and so we have to make those changes. So let's do touch.readme. And I guess the important thing to note is if the bottom of your Visual Studio Code is purple, it's not opening up in the directory that you want. Did everybody see that on mine? Let me show you. So you see how it's purple? We want blue. So if you open it up and it's purple, that tells you that it's not in a directory specific, and that's why you end up with this open a folder. We do not want to do that. So I'm going to close that and create a file to force it to open. So I'll do touch readme.md. I do an ls. Now I have a folder. Now I can do code readme, and it should open directly. Apparently, and I don't know. Nope, it's still not liking that. Good thing to know. Don't save. Let me close all of this. Interesting. All right, do it the old-fashioned way. Code dot. Jiminy Christmas. And the new keyboard on top of everything is just made my world completely crazy. Those that don't know the story, I got a contract, but I have to be on a Windows machine, and I'm hating it. All right, so notice now how I'm specifically in the PassGen file, and it's blue. So purple, no good. Red, well, you can guess red. Blue, total bueno. And that's why I don't have my camera on for those of you. New machine, my camera won't be here until tomorrow. So I apologize for that. We don't have that to do. All right, so in here, we're going to do a little bit of markdown. So let's just say hashtag random password generator. Down here, we'll say stack. And inside the stack, we'll say dash HTML, CSS, JS. We're not using any libraries that I can think of, but that's good enough for now. Okay, so let's go ahead and open our terminal in here, and let's scaffold out the rest of the stuff that we're going to need. So we're only going to use 3 files. We're going to have an index HTML, so let's start with that. So let's say touch index.html. We need to have a CSS page. I'm going to call it, well, there we go. I'm going to call it styles.css, and a third one, I'm just going to call it scripts.js. So now we have the 3 files inside of here. The next thing that we need to do is make this a Git repository, and we can do that with git init. And if you run your file, actually, let me show you this real quick. I'm going to remove mine. Don't copy me. Well, I can't remember what it is. Haven't had to remove it in such a long time. .git. So now if I were to run a git status, it'll tell you fatal, not a Git repository. So can everybody see my screen enough? Screen size is fine? Okay. The one kind of cool thing, I'm not going to say really cool. The one kind of thing about the Windows Zoom is it does allow me to have everybody on the screen where I can now see everybody while I'm doing this, which is kind of cool. I'll give them that one thing. And they own GitHub now, and Visual Studio Code are both Microsoft, which just chaps my hide, as they say. So if you get that error, just do a git init. Now, if we do a git status, we should see all of our basic files. So let's go ahead and commit that. And because this is all related to setup, we have done nothing but setup. It's cool to add them all together. Git commit -m, and I'm just going to say initial setup. Now, if we kind of skip through our process and we think, oh, I want to push this, and we do a git push origin, well, it won't even try to do it. Actually, see, it won't autocomplete. I know you can't see me hitting tab, but I am, I promise. See, listen. Okay. That's because there is no origin to send to. We don't have a connection. But if you were to try to do git push, it'll tell you you need to add git remote add. See how nice that is? It tells you what you need to do. The problem that we have, of course, is we don't even have a repo. So let's go set up a repo now. Now, I will say this. It doesn't matter at what part you set up your repo to your local. So we could build the whole thing and then do it to GitHub. You can get to this point, move it to GitHub. We'll move it here just so that it's done. But as long as you have your git init done and you do your git commits, when you finally do push it up, everything will be there in that order. So let's dump that. Don't save it. All right, let's go here, and we're going to create our new repository. And I'm just going to name, what did I name the last? PassGen or GenPass? Dang. Yes. Let's see here. PassGen.
Do you have to name it the same thing right here?
Yeah, you can name it whatever you want. They are bananas. I only do it because I have probably 1,000 repos between all my organizations and everything, and it makes it absolutely insane. And I think I have like 23 different organizations, so I can go down PassGen. Is it in this one? Nope. Is it in this one? Nope. Until I find it, if all else fails. So that's the only reason I do it. And I'm going to say practice app that creates random password. Again, this is for me. You don't have to. Make it public. And we do not want to add anything. This is the critical stage. Because we don't want anything to override. Now, we could choose a license because we don't have a license. It just becomes a pain. Don't do it. Right? Just leave it empty and create the repository. And now you'll get a snazzy little list of explanations for you. Notice create a new repository on the command line. This is really what we're going to do, except we're only worried about this. But let's say that we were completely empty. We had done nothing. We just had a folder. You can follow all of these steps and it will walk you through setting up a brand new, completely blank repo. But we've already got some stuff, so we only want this line right here. Okay. And so let's head back over. And what I want to show you, so here's a really important git command. It's git remote -v. And notice it came back empty, right? There's nothing there. That remote -v, the remote, is your connection to GitHub. If it comes back empty or if it comes back wrong, because maybe you forked your project, but you cloned Git from Lambda School, for instance, right? So you run that, and if it's incorrect, you can fix it. And right now we're going to add ours. We're going to say git remote add origin, and we're going to paste in our link. And now if we run our remote v, notice it tells us our origin for fetching and our origin for pushing. And that is in fact me. Let's say for whatever reason that, oh, this was Lambda School and I wanted to change it to mine, right? Because I just cloned the wrong one. No big deal. All you have to do is you would say git, and you don't follow this. This is just exposure, right? You would say git remote remove origin. And when you do that and you do a remote v, notice it's empty again. And then you just say git remote add origin, and you put in your link, and now you're connected again. So if you mess up or you cloned, your buddy's work and you're like, hey, I want to work on that too, but I'm going to keep it on my own, whatever, and you need to change it, that's all it takes. So you don't have to remember those steps, but just remember that it's possible, and then just say, hey, I need to change my remote, and the instructions will pop up in a second. All right. So I'm just going to double check, of course, that it's where it's supposed to. Good. Now, if I do a git push, let's do one more command while we're at it. Let's say git branch, and notice that I'm on master. You may be on main. Doesn't make any difference. They're moving to main from master. And so depending on what version you're running, it could be one or the other. It's not that important. Just know where you're at. So if I say git push, origin, oh, now it shows up, master. Here, that's a good one. You typed up something wrong. You get this little terminal, hit Control C, hit the up arrow once, remove what you messed up, and push it. All right, and I can tell by this message, everything went according to plan. Of course, I can refresh this page now, and there it is. All right, so I'm going to pause here. I can see everybody. I guess I don't even have to stop sharing. I can go back to that. Why not? Because it's fancy. Got to find some reason to get some smiles out of this. So thumbs up if you are at this point. Everything is on repo and we are swimmingly happy.
One quick question.
Uh-huh.
I'm wondering what your thinking is for not having a -u before origin master, and when that is appropriate and when that isn't.
Sure. So -u stands for set upstream. Okay. So if I did get push -u origin master, what it does is it sets master as my upstream. So the next time I no longer need to change it, I can just do get push. Now, by doing get push origin master, there is no upstream. So if I want to push to the same branch again, I would have to duplicate. I think I made it this. Yeah, that again. Okay. But we're going to be moving to a branch. So we would have to set the upstream again in order to go to the new branch. So I saved myself 2 characters and didn't type it because I have to type it again in a moment anyway, because we're going to do several pushes to our branch. And there we want to be able to just say get push. We don't want to have to type all the extra stuff. Okay. And Emily, I did not see a thumbs up from you.
Yeah, so I got it to work where I thought it was connected, but
All right.
here, I can just show my screen real
Yep. Share
quick.
your screen.
So I was at,
We're still not seeing your screen.
oh,
Just so you know.
sorry, I thought it had.
There we
changed.
go.
Okay.
And
So this showed up like yours, but it said there's no upstream branch.
okay, so let's see. Do a get branch real fast. No, we're not creating a branch. We're just seeing which branch we're on. So just get branch. Okay, so you don't have a branch of any kind. Did you do a get init
I did.
originally? Okay.
Yeah.
So let me
It
see
was
here.
back here. Sorry, it was kind of, got kind of confused.
I'm guessing at some point you probably did a get checkout earlier. So let's just do this. So in your case, we need to create a branch because you don't even have a branch to work on. So let's do get checkout -b master. All right, now do a get status. And go ahead and do a commit. Oh, you didn't have any commits either. Okay, that's why you didn't have a branch, because you had not done your get add and get commit.
Okay.
So, but that's all right. No big deal. Go ahead and do a get add dot. And now do your commit. And I just call it initial setup or initial because this is just foundation. It serves no usage, right? All right, now do a get status again. Just double check everything. All right, now go ahead and do a get push origin master. Okay. And that is a successful push. And now refresh and you'll be good to go. So, but go ahead and refresh it so we can confirm that you're all happy. There it is. Good.
All right. Cool. Thank you.
You're most welcome. All right. Let's go ahead and whoa. Okay. So, you ready to sling some code faster than a Old West gunfighter? Let's do this. We no longer need this. I'm just going to save that. And let's go to index. So, I'm going to give you a quick series of commands. We're going to do them as a group. You're going to be shocked and awed. You're going to say, my God, this is amazing. And then you're going to say, okay, let's learn something cool. I think somebody's trying to come in, but I can't find. There we go. Or maybe not. Nope, that looks like everybody. Okay. So, ready? Everybody good? All right. Shift 1 so we get an exclamation point. Tab. Then you're going to hit tab once, twice, and you should be in the title, and let's just say password generator. Then you're going to hit tab again, and you're going to be in the body. Everybody good? All right. So we're going to create an H3. We're going to create a label. Inside of that label, we're going to have an input and a P tag, and we're going to create a button. All right, so let's say H3. Ooh, let me see if this is going to work on Windows because I'm not sure. Yeah, okay. So H3 plus label, and then we're going to do a greater than, and then we're going to say input plus P, and then we're going to do a caret, which is the shift 6, and say button. Hopefully this works. Booyah. We built all of our HTML. How sweet is that?
What was the last thing you did? You said save.
I think the last thing I did was the caret button.
Yep.
And
then you save?
And then tab.
Oh.
So did everybody get that set up? You feel like a gangster now? Riding in your 6'4", slinging HTML out the door?
So my tab is not working probably because I did something else. Is there a way to get it to work again?
So if you didn't get it all in one run, delete the last thing and then type it back in and hit tab.
I believe there is a way. If your cursor is at the very end of the line and you hit Control Space, I believe.
Okay. That very well could be. I don't know.
There we go. Yep.
Control space.
And then I hit something else and it worked.
Awesome. All right. So now inside of our H3, we're putting nothing in there. It's going to stay empty because that's what's going to hold the text that that says, if you want to copy the password, click here. Inside of the input, so we need type text, and then we also need to put in a couple of more things. We're going to say placeholder. So type PLA tab. It'll automatically hop in the inside. We just want to make that a space. And then after that, we want to say disabled. All right, so we're actually disabling this input so that it cannot be used by us. We cannot input anything. Inside the P tag, we're just going to say password. And then inside the button, we're going to put in our, now I have to admit, I just learned how to do this. It's kind of cool. But on Windows anyway, you hold the window key and hit semicolon, and you get your little option window here. I don't know how to do it in Mac. I know you can do it in Mac, and I don't think any of you are running Linux. But I'm going to put the key just because that's so key-like. And then I'm going to say generate random password. There we go. And I'm going to save that. And that's our entire HTML. If I can ever save. Thank you.
It can also be control period.
Yes. I did see that. I did not remember that, but yes, thank you. So everybody good? HTML is up and proper? Sweet. Yeah. How long legitimately did it really take us to make that web page? I'm thinking like 45 seconds. Less than 2 minutes, even with the massive amount of text we've added, right? So yeah, Emmet is really cool. learning to use your tools, though, that's what is really cool, is when you have tools and you begin to get to the point where you're kind of putting them to use. And I'm by no means a master. I've seen some people do just hundreds and hundreds of lines of HTML in like 3 lines of Emmet. So yeah, you can get really crazy with it. Let's go ahead and do a status. We should only have the index, so let's go ahead and add that. And let's make a message, create index HTML. Oh, this keyboard I like this keyboard. It's actually pretty cool, but the spacing is weird on the end. And there we go. All right. We don't really need that anymore. Let's go ahead and attach our CSS at this point. So I'm going to run my live server and drag this snazzy thing over so that you can, actually, I'll put it inside of here. Actually, I don't even need that. All right, shortcut it back. There we go. All right, so this is what it should look like. Fancy, fancy. And next, let's add our CSS. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to our CSS and I'm going to type body.
Sorry, I didn't realize I wasn't muted.
Oh, that's okay. We all people. And I'm going to put a background color of my favorite. Ugh. Life is getting crazy. I have to use Windows. I still can't get over it. It's like I lost a bet and went to OS prison. Okay. So, of course, when I come to look at it, it's not going to work. And why is that? Because we did not include it. So let's just go after the meta tag, type in link. Whoa. There it is. And that is going to be styles CSS. I can save that and hop back over. Whew. Yes, you're welcome. Blinded by science. Let's do that again. Woo. The preview is kind of cool. It's a little bit different than the one I'm used to, but the only thing is I haven't figured. Oh, that's how I go backwards. That's weird. Okay, cool. See, learning your tools. So HTML is good. Our CSS is connected. I'm going to remove this now and just make a basic. I like to do my own reset. You can use a Myers reset. You can use your own. I don't care. Whatever makes you happy. But I'm going to do one really quick that I like to use because I don't like anybody telling me what I can and cannot do. So I don't use other people's resets. So I'm going to say margin 0, padding 0, box sizing, border box. Oops, Control Z. Let's hit this one. Oh, it's a different spot. Interesting. Okay, there we go. Let's see. We can say border none. That way we don't have anything there. And I'm not a big fan of all the WebKit stuff. But if you wanted to put them in there, you can. And it's a good process when you start building your projects and you're going to show them to employers, especially if you want front end. There's a whole WebKit series that you can drop in there. I'm not going to do it right now because it's just more CSS that I hate to begin with. And we don't have a need for it. But keep that in mind. The WebKit makes your CSS more universal across browsers. All right, let's go ahead and get us a font because surprisingly enough, this looks really horrible. Oh, that's interesting. If we use this font, it looks terrible. And interesting. Yeah, okay. It's hard to see, but there is a very slight gray up there. So let's go to Google Fonts. And in case you haven't done this before, this gives you a good experience. It's good I don't have a camera today. Because then you can't see me mouthing horrible things at the computer. Let's find something interesting. I like this. That looks kind of cool. And then you'll want to get the regular 400. Oh, but that's italic. I don't want that one. I want the standard. And we're going to do an import instead of a link because I'm sure all of you know how to do a link and you may not have done an import. So let's click over here to import. And we're going to grab everything inside of the style. Oh, interesting. Okay. And we'll go back over to our HTML. We'll go to the style sheet and we'll put that at the very, very top. Just like so. And then we'll run back over here and grab the font family. And let's paste that in as well. And you can decide where you want to put your text, but I like to put HTML and body and inside there, put it inside there. Just my own choice of that. And of course, when we save it, we should, oops, there it was, have some new text. And that text is better. I like that. I think I'm going to use that more often. Nunito. Cool. All right, everybody have their font choice showing. Thumbs up. Booyah, booyah. All right. Now, we have a lot of CSS that we have to do. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to do the absolute minimum and then go do some JavaScript. Because, yeah, exactly. So really, we just want to be able to see it a bit better. And because this is really hard to deal with, so we're just going to do a couple of changes to the body. And we're going to come down here and do a new body because we don't want to include HTML in there. And let's go ahead and do display flex. Why? Because display flex is awesome. Apparently this is not. And what good is emit if it doesn't correct my spelling? Let's do a flex direction of column because we want it top to bottom. All right, so we can assume that there's a gray spot inside of there. Let's go ahead and let's see. Let's put in a width for now. Width of, I want to say 500 pixels just to make it a little more reasonable. Let's see here. We also want to do all of our cool justified content. Let's make that center because we're going to want it centered. And we're also going to want to do our align items center, I believe. Let's go ahead and do that as well. Align center. What else do we need? We need a background. And for this background that I had done, I think it's OT4. Yeah, let's do OT4. OT4. All right, cool. Sort of. Wow, that's ugly. For now, we also need to modify the text, which is a P tag. So for now, I'm just going to put a P tag right here and make it color white so we can see it. Because we will be doing some manipulation and that's not working. P tag. I don't need this. I do have a P tag. We don't need this label, the 4 inside the label, by the way. Oh, there it is. Okay. Good enough for now. Everybody up to this point? Let's do some JavaScript. Yeah, let's do some JavaScript. I'm going to bring this over to here, close that back. Now, the JavaScript is a bit different, right? So we're going to do this using DOM manipulation. So if you've forgotten how to do that, well, you're going to get a refresher. I'm trying to make sure that my new boss hasn't sent me some hate mail or anything. Give me 1 second just to double check. What are you doing? Where are you? Seems like something that they might tell me. So the really cool Zoom window is great, except I can't figure out how to put anything in front of it. So it's taking up, it won't let me add anything. There we go. All
You
right.
exit out of full screen. It should allow you to do it then.
Yeah, I had all of you guys on the other monitor that was taking up, and it doesn't have a full screen mode unless I guess maybe change it on my other one. But yeah, all is good. Boss still loves me. That's wonderful. Okay. So we're going to need to grab all 4 of these parts. The H3, the input, the P, and the button. All right, everybody remember how to do those? Anyone want to venture forth and remind me that they know? How do we get the H3?
Document.query selector.
Okay. So yeah, let's do document.query selector. And I just want, wow. I just want to name them what I'm grabbing. So I'm going to say H3, and then we can do that for all of them. Let's grab button. And yeah, we can shortcut this, but you should get in the habit until all these are like butter in your brain. We need to do the input. And then we need to do the P. So a pretty good refresher there, I think. And how can we confirm that we have these? So you can highlight, which is kind of interesting, and it gives you this H3 HTML header, what does it say? Anyway, heading element. That's kind of cool. There's other ways that we could confirm that we have those, right? Your choice on how. In this case, we're pretty confident that's the structure, so we're not going to fuss too much. But it is always important to check. And generally, the easiest way to check is to go to your inspect tool over here. And if you go to the console, you should be able to say console log button. And it says button is not defined. Did I save it? Oh, no, I didn't. And we have one other thing that we have to fix. Anyone know what that is? As soon as I figure out where.
Connect the JavaScript to the HTML.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go grab that. And where should we put that?
The bottom. Or at the top with defer.
I like to put it. So I usually put it down here. But yeah, you can put it defer at the top if you want. And that's called scripts.js. And how can we check to see that our JS is connected?
Put an alert on.
Yeah, that's usually the easiest way. We can just Uh, come on. I thought I had the flow going on. Alert. Hello. So now we're connected. Hold on one second here. It's one of those people that doesn't get the hint that when you send them to voicemail, they think that means call again as quickly as possible. Okay. So yeah, we added an alert. So now we know that it's working. And of course, what I was meant to do is console log button, and it will give us the text from our button. So we know we're good to go. We are both connected, and at least our button is properly connected. So let's think about what do we need to do. We're going to need a couple of things, right? We need an event listener that's going to listen to the button. We need a password generator. And so let's do that. Let's create a button.add event listener. We're going to make that a click. And outside of that, we want to create a callback. And for now, we can just trigger our function that's going to handle from input. So let's do input.value. And we're going to call our generate password. And for now, I'm going to put in 16. Anyone got an idea of what the 16 is going to be?
How
16
many
characters. Yeah, right. We can eventually modify that to where you can put in any amount of, you can pick it, but all right. So let's make our go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, is generate password something we're setting up, or is that a default function? I didn't
Nope,
quite hear.
we're gonna build that right now.
Perfect.
And you can write a function of your choice. I like arrow functions. So I'm going to do that. And we're going to set a default here inside of our parameter. And so I'm going to say length is equal to 16. Now, we're setting it at 16 when we pass into it, but down the road, we could modify it to make it much more usable in that aspect. So we are going to make sure that we include a default. So it'll always default at 16 right now, even though we're telling it 16. So if we changed it to empty, it would automatically give us 16. All right. Inside of here, what do we want our generate password button to do? Well, we want it to randomly pick 16 characters from what? We need to make a character set. And so we can call this just char set. You can call it whatever you want. This is where it gets really dull. So we have to do all the characters we want to give it options to pick. So I want it to be uppercase, lowercase, and all of the numbers for now. So we have to type them or go get one. It's just as easy to type it. But A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T. This will send you back in a while. I think that's right. Looks close enough. And if not, well, tough. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, yeah, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T. Yeah, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Oh, I don't think I got an X in my other one. X, 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 Y, Z. Let me go add an X. I would not be a good candidate for recite the alphabet backwards while sober or drunk. Okay, hold on one moment here. I'll have to respond to that in a minute, but we'll get this next part done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, I did not include special characters. Not all sites let you use special characters. So you could add them. It may be in a situation where they don't take them. But for what we're trying to do, this will work fine. Next thing we want to do is we want to have a place to store our newly minted password. So I'm just going to create a password variable and make it an empty string. Now we need to loop. There's all kinds of loops. I'm going to go with the simplest one for a couple of reasons, mainly because it allows us to have some control over how many times that we do it. We don't want to use a for each necessarily, because a for each will go through every time, whether you need it to or not. In this case, it won't make a big difference where we're at, but down the road, it could be a problem. So I'm going to prohibit that and make it dependent upon length. This length, not dot length method. So this is a banana. If I wanted to call this pass length, that would be pass length. And instead of running our counter at the beginning, so instead of doing an I++, which adds, as soon as it hits, it's going to add 1. We want it to wait to the end of the run to add it so we get all 16 digits, right? So we could say length +1 and do an I++, but in case you haven't used it this way, we're going to do it this way. And inside of our for loop, what do we want to do? So we have to have a location, right? We're going to need to pick one of these spots. And so we need to have a location. What is R, for instance, or little j and 1, right? So I'm just going to say AT, and this can be anything that you want, but I'm literally using it as the word at. This is the number at this spot because we're going to use a char at, and we're just giving it the location. So I'm using it as the word at, not an abbreviation or a shorten. Okay? But again, you have that choice to do whatever. How do we generate random numbers?
Math.random.
Math.random. And we want to constrain it or make sure that it gives us anything that's in here. And what would we do next?
Multiply it by as many characters as there are in our char set.
Right. And here we can just say charset.length. So this is the method. And then we have to add 1 to it, right? Because we want it to loop completely through so we get all 16 characters. Now, what is the problem that we're going to have if we run this as is? Anyone got any idea?
It's not pushing it to password.
No, that's not going to be the issue. So if we
It's a
come
very
back over-
decimal, weird funky
yes.
number.
Yes. And I thought it would let me have it. I guess I haven't saved it yet. And I should log it. All right, it's not letting me have char set yet because it's inside of this generate. So we'd have to run that function as well. Remember your scoping, right? So this is going to give us a decimal, and we want a integer, a whole number, to match one of those. So we can just wrap that around and then make it math.floor. And now we should be able to properly assume that this is going to give us back what we want for every single spot. If we were to console log it here and console log at, oh goodness, okay. And let's see, will this let us do it at this point? Yeah. So I hit random R button. These are the 16 digits that it picked out. So we're getting whole numbers between 0 and I don't know what the end is, but at least 59 because that's our highest one, right? So that's good. We're at a good spot there. Now we need to add that to password. And so let's just say password. And you may not have seen this either, but you can do a plus equals, just like we're adding a number, we can add a letter or to our word. So we can say plus equals char set. And we want to do that char at that location. So what this is going to do is it's going to start empty. It's going to get our first number. It's going to take the char. It's going to add it to our password. And we can actually watch this run and you'll see it. You'll see 1 digit, 2 digit, 3, 4, 5, and it just fills it up. Let's just do that real quick. As a matter of fact, let's just console log.
I'm not getting that console log list.
All right. We will look at it in just a moment. And let's see here. So you see it started picking and each time it added 1 to it. So pretty cool. Let's take a look at what you got.
Zach, unfortunately, I have my track team meeting right now for Build Week.
Okay.
So is this going to be on YouTube? Is this going to be posted?
I'll drop the thread, the link into it.
Cool.
I put it on YouTube, but it's a private link, so you have to have the link to get to it.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're most welcome. And was that you, Emily?
No, it was April.
Oh, it was April. Is she still there? Oh, there she is. Okay. She was the one off, so I didn't see her. All right.
Okay, there. Now I'm unmuted. I couldn't find the screen.
Okay, so it's because on line 6 you misspelled click.
Cool.
Save it, and now let's look at it real quick. Click it. All right, so now you're getting all the at locations, but now go ahead and just switch your console log to be password. So just drop 16 down to 19 and now make it password.
Cool.
There you go. Good. Everybody else good?
I am also not console logging.
All right. Fire away.
And the error that I am getting is line 17, invalid left-hand side expression in prefix operation.
Wow. Interesting. That's a new
I
one for
haven't
me.
seen that
Okay.
Or let I start at 0 so long as I is less than length. The parameter passed in, default 16, I plus plus.
I see. On 17, you're doing ++1. Shouldn't it be I?
Ah, yep.
Thank you.
No problem.
And cancel out. Yep, it's working.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Screen share. Good. And move this back over there. Okay. So we are getting the password. We can get rid of that. And now what we want to do is just return the password. So you want to make sure that you're outside of the for loop in the same level as the password. And let's return password. Good. All right. So now that we have that, what we want to do is we want to think about what do we need to do to change this to have this value. So what we need to confirm now is what the input value is. So let's start with input. And where is it? There it is. So input is properly showing what we have. Good. And now notice that we're getting our password. We click it again, you should get a different password. Every time you click it, you should get some new random. Pretty sweet, right? Now, we have a couple of options. We need to, our value is in the input. We just can't see it, right? We know that this value here is there. The password is there. We can't see it. We have some styling to do. But let's do a couple more bits of JavaScript real quick. And then I will drop the styling and allow you to kind of mess around with it.
Zach, I'm sorry, I have another question for you.
Go ahead.
Where is it that you're console logging password so that it's
I'm no longer logging password. I am now inside of our event listener for button. I'm console logging the input value. And when we look at our, if we go to the HTML, right? And so our input is right here. That's where it's sending it to. But we don't have any connection going back other than that we've assigned that value to our input. But we have an empty string as it is for now. And so our logic is fine, but let's add just a couple more bits of logic to it. Now, we want to do something with that H3. And with that, what we want to do is we want to add text to the H3 once we have made a click, right? So let's look at our here, and let's just for now, let's come down here and let's say H3, and we want to provide some inner HTML, and we really should say text. There we go. And what text we want in there for now, let's just put hello. So when we go to our web page and we click, we don't see it because it's hiding right there. But if we look at our H3, it does have hello, and that's just because of the color, right? So let's change the styling there briefly on our H3.
I'm gonna drop out for that track team meeting as well. So
Okay.
see you guys later.
And we'll be done in about 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes. So you won't miss much. All right. So now we have hello and it's there. So if we refresh the page, it's not. We run our password, we're getting hello. So let's modify this just a bit. And instead of saying hello, let's put something that is closer to what we want. And let's just say click. Click here to copy password. And just for, I'm going to put a plus right here for now and say input dot value. So what we should see when I hit the button is we should get our text with our password. And that's what we're getting. So all of our JavaScript is working good there. Now we want to be able to click that tag. How do we do that? Well, we just add another event listener, right? And so let's come down here to the bottom and let's say h3 dot add event listener. We want to make that a click. A click. Again, we're going to have our callback. And inside of here, we can then tell it what we want it to do, what special things that we want it to do. And for now, we'll just console log the input value. Because really what we want to do is we're just making sure this is working. Right? So I click this, we get a password. Now, let's come over here. When I click this, see, we're getting the password. So this click is working. Now we can do some fancy things with it. We can make that a, when we click it, right, we can say, we could put the cursor so we get the little finger. We know that it's clickable. Styling options. But as far as all of the interactivity with JavaScript, that's what we need. The only thing we don't have in there is a copy text. So let's do that real quick. Let's go ahead and make a function and say copy text. And we're just making an arrow function. And here we're just going to set a value. Pass text. And we're going to set that equal to our input.value. Right? We were console logging it here. We already know what we're going to get. So here we just want to say copy text and call that method. And then there's a couple of different ways to do a copy text. I was messing around with this one. It's navigator clipboard dot write text, and then what we want it to, which is the pass text. Yeah. And then we can just alert that for now. And I'm just going to put pass text. So when we look at it, we click here, that shows up. We are getting our, then we click here, we should get an alert that also has the password inside of it. All of the basic functionality is now set. The only thing left to do is to customize it and make it your own. Any questions on the JavaScript itself? What we're trying to accomplish here?
Could you please show me the H3 that inner text? I didn't get the whole line, please.
Yes, let me see. Okay. Oops, that's not the one. There it is. So the H3 right here.
Thank you. Got it. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Is write text that's a keyword at the bottom there?
Yes, that's part of Navigator. It's something fairly new, this. And I haven't messed a lot with it. But yeah, if you just go to EMDM docs for Navigator clipboard write text, it'll explain it. And I don't know. I'm not a big, I'll have to mess around with it more to see if I like it or not. I'm not a fan at this point. But it'll give you something to look up and to research.
Yeah.
April and Emily, I don't think we did much since you left. If so, it would be right here in this area. The only thing that we did that is not, there it is. Actually, I no longer need that, so I'm going to get rid of that. Is this inner text where we're telling it to, we're just making a message and we're just using the input value right now, which is the password, just so that it's there. And then we created these two little functions to handle the basics of that. So it looks like this at this point. New, so we click it, that pops up, shows us what's going on there. And then when you click here, we get an alert that also has the password in it. And what I'm going to do is I will just drop you this code pin. Well, it's not showing up there, but I will drop the code pin. But I do want to make sure we do all of our commits before we go before we book out. I can't find Zoom. There you are. But I'll drop the code pin. It's pretty close, I think. Now, the CSS styling is really obnoxious. We have to do some fancy things. And I'll just show you that right now so you can get an idea what we had to do. So a couple of things that had to be done is up here when you, so notice we have the word password here. And when I run this, it gets rid of the password. So one of the things I had to do was create a hide and apply that class list to it. Otherwise, you'll have the word password written underneath. And as it stands, that's all basically the same. So I had to do that. And I think that's the only JavaScript. Yeah, that's the only JavaScript really that's any different, was removing that. But you won't figure that out until you start doing all of the horrible CSS. And then, so here's a WebKit example. So we position the label. Then inside of the input, here's the styling for the input. And things like making the background transparent because you're overlapping text over itself. That's why we have to hide part of it. This is a selection, so only when it's selected. Let's see. Here's label, the P tag information for that, the H3, the hide. You may not have seen these before. They're kind of prickish, I think. But it was the only way we can get around some of it. So this says when placeholder is not shown, this is what we want. And then when it's not shown and it has a P tag, here's the styling that we want. And then when it is shown and we have a P tag, something in there, this is what we want. And then the button and hover. So play around with it, see what you get out of it, see what you think. Like I said, it's rather obtuse and I really don't like it, but and trying to move this text up and down to get it in a spot left and right, you're going to do that with these transforms. And let's see, it's right here. So we position it and then we transform it, and trying to figure out negative 180. Who even knew that you could have a negative 180? I didn't. But moving it up and down and left and right is a real pain. So experiment with it. Take some notes so that you will remember what you did and why you did it. Put some comments in there. Will probably be really beneficial. Any questions on this? All right, I'm going to stop screen sharing for a moment. I'm going to